So let's come back over here. We'll go back into present mode. Okay, good prompting. Now, there's some prompting structures that you could use. And again, like you could build a really good prompting set of instructions to go into your ChatGPT account in your settings. Like you could do that for sure, which is definitely worth considering. These are some of the instruction frameworks. So CoStar is context, objective, style, tone, audience, and response. So you could, as an example, with any of these frameworks, you could say, here's my 3 or 4 sentences that I want to write as my prompt. Can you help me rewrite this in a CoStar format? Right? And it could help you write it that way. And it might ask you a couple of questions. You know, what's your objective? If you've missed in your output, you know, in terms of your asking, if you're missing anything, it'll ask you for some of the clarifying questions that it may need. And you can do that with CoStar ICE. So ICE is instruct, context, examples. Examples are a great thing that people often miss, right? So if they're asking something, if you give it context with an example, it helps it think better.
Absolutely.
And more quickly and more cleanly. Craft is very similar to CoStar. Chain of thought is a really great thing to learn and understand as well. Because what we find happens is, and you know, people will have experienced this as well. Sometimes you put in your 2 or 3 sentences, rewrite the prompt, and it'll start, you know, giving you the output. Sometimes it wants to give you everything in the first output, right? It goes, dangerous. I know everything you need. Here's everything. And then that's not always the best, because you don't want it like tackling everything. So a way to get it to slow down is with chain of thought.
I love this. Yeah.
And again, it's the setup, right? So help me. What we're going to go through, and again, this is the human and the AI working together. Help me go through a process of building out this project, and I want to go through this step by step with you, right? So rather than it running off and trying to give you 100% of the answer, it will take you through a process of thinking step by step, and it'll be asking you questions to clarify before it actually begins the project. And that's just getting things to slow down a little bit, right? So
this is super important.
Yeah. And it comes back to reflective modeling, you know, which is, hey, like, and we did this exercise only a couple of weeks ago with AI Avenue with Brett and myself. We said, you know, we want to write the tone of voice document for our business. Here's all the bits and pieces that we're doing and what you know about us. Give us your top 20 questions so that you understand what our tone of voice should be. Now, Brett went and filled that out, and I went and filled that out, and then we asked Chat to combine the 2 answers from both of us as the founders into one consolidated tone of voice document, right? But it was reflective modeling. So it says, oh, okay, you want to create a tone of voice. I'm going to ask you these 20 questions so that I'll get all the information. Again, humans and AI working together. I'll get all the information out of you as a human to give you the best output of your tone of voice because you've interacted with me. Now, you could just say, here's all the stuff that you know, just write the tone of voice for it. You could do that. You could, and it's probably going to do a decent job. But
a fair job, yeah.
What we want to encourage is that humans always stay involved in this, and it's much more powerful. So that's a way with reflective modeling for it to go through that process with you before you get the output. You could set that up in chain of thought to then get it to slow down so that it goes through its process a little bit more slowly.
Well, I like how your points on like human and AI interaction. Like when I build decks for brands, I have a worksheet that Chat helped me build that gets like the foundation, the business, the story, the founder story, the sourcing, all the little golden nuggets that a founder usually doesn't ever, they all have in their head. They never put on paper.
Yes.
And then I use that and I put it into the tool to help me build the presentation and the deck and the sales pitch and the investor deck. And it helps inform, instead of just saying, here's my business, it actually has all that background and context, and its output is far greater.
100%. And you know, going back to how we build these things, where are we? Well, sorry, back here. So what you've just mentioned there is part of what you would then be able to use with that business and that brand as part of their stack.
Yep.
In their custom GBTs,
Yep.
right? It would go in either at layer 2 or layer 3, because then you've now collected that information from them. So that's a piece about prompting, which I think is important, and people, you know, can understand that. In terms of